Today is Thursday, September 25th. We're right at 10 a.m. and this is the Regional Advisory Council. Madam Chair, we do have a quorum, and so I would invite you to go ahead and begin with introductions.
Great, thank you, Jody. How about if we start with those members who are here online? We could have you introduce yourselves. Don, maybe?
Hi, good morning. This is Don Kovleski. I'm out here at Falcon, Colorado.
Thank you. Rosemary?
Good morning, Rosemary Jaramillo with the Alzheimer's Association.
Great, thank you. And I think we'll now go here who are here today. And if we could start over there with B.
Good morning, B. Babbitt, Northern El Paso County.
Gordon Rick, City of Fountain.
Laura Chronic, Town of Monument.
There you go. Thank you. Okay. Good thing we're having a presentation today. Clark Becker. I representing Teller Senior Coalition Board in Teller County, though I live in Springs.
Kendra
Clark. Yeah.
Kendra Carpenter, staff here at the Area Agency on Aging.
And Melissa Martz, Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging.
And I am Debbie Levin Stankiewicz, the chair of this committee. Thank you. If we could move on to number 2, which is the agenda approval. And do I have a motion to accept the agenda?
I so move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Clark. Then a vote. We could
Yes.
vote on that?
Yep.
Say aye.
Aye.
Okay, agenda approved.
And Madam Chair, I'll just share a little bit of housekeeping. We've been asking our committees to watch for is if you are making a motion, please state your name before you make the motion. That would be a big help both for our recording, for those online, as well as for our staff to capture the appropriate minutes. Make sure we have everything accurate. Thanks so much.
So
Just,
with
you know, this is Clark, I'll make a motion, you know, that kind of thing. So
Okay,
that'd be
so
great.
just to go back, for the agenda approval, we had Laura and we had Clark.
Yes.
Second. Now, if we could move on to a motion to approve the minutes from the previous RAC meeting.
B. Babbitt, make a move to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Thank you. And then a vote, say aye.
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 Motion to accept the minutes approved. And we're now down to number 4, which is public comments. And Jared, do we have any public comments?
Madam Chair, I know we had at least one person request to make a public comment. If they can please use the raise hand function and let us know that they would like to provide public comment. Anyone else would like to provide public comment at this time, please use the raise hand function and let us know. In the meantime, I'll just let you know that we did not receive any other advance requests for public comment. Excuse me. And that we did not receive any written public comment that we would have submitted to the Regional Advisory Council before this meeting.
So you said so there are no public comments at this time.
Looks like there is one.
What? Okay, can we have that person maybe come up to the podium?
Jared, is that person in?
Or
No, she's next. She's a presentation.
online maybe?
No. Okay, so no public comments at this time, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And then number 5 is action items, and I don't think we have any action items today.
Correct. No action items today.
All right, so we're going to move on to our information items, which is presentations first. And at the podium is Jeanette Fortin. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And she's the Community Relations Coordinator at Eyesight Connections.
Ready? Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. Um, so I don't know about you guys, I'm enjoying the beautiful weather outside. So it was wonderful to get out today. Eyesight Connections is a nonprofit, of course, that provides free services for seniors over 60. We're about 6 or 7 years old. Our founder and CEO is Tim Richard. Um, and so we're a pretty small company, but we present a lot of services for our seniors. So I am the community relations coordinator and also the peer support person. And we provide a lot of different services for our seniors. We have a very large community of seniors in Colorado Springs. I'm sure all of you know, since that's what all of us work with. We have a technology teacher, and she teaches, if you look on the handout, she kind of went through all the things she does, the technology with vision loss devices, with programs, computers, we do independent living classes as well. A lot of our seniors really want to be able to continue to use their computers and iPads and iPhones and Androids, and we do a lot of training. We do weekly training for that. We do some living skills classes. Do some, as you look through the list, you see that she does teaches different things like I'm looking at my list here. She does different things. She does some strength and balance classes. That's what she did yesterday. Her name is Jan McGarry. She's a former teacher at the Colorado Springs for the Deaf and Blind, School for the Deaf and Blind. We do not currently have an orientation mobility instructor. We are looking for that, which is is an important service to our seniors, learning how to get around independently. We have some online training for that, but right now not any in-person training. She does some self-determination, sensory efficiency, and communication. And what I do is I do support groups. Formerly, before I worked for Eyesight Connections, I worked for the Independence Center and I was a peer support person. And 2 years ago, we ended that program at the Independence Center, and then I went to work for Eyesight. So a lot of my seniors moved over to Eyesight Connections with me. We do social activities. One of the most popular is for 13 years, we've been going, believe it or not, to Village Inn once a month to eat lunch and get a free piece of pie. And they love that. That's one of their favorite things. Getting out with other people. A lot of our seniors are single. And so they want to go out, but they don't want to go out alone. So they really enjoy the opportunity to go out to lunch. I teach a nutritional education class. I do some low vision skills training. I have adaptive cooking classes. We do some adaptive games and events. We get out in the community and go to activities. We've done some activities at the new Colorado Springs Senior Center, which is just really nice. It's really a beautiful place over there. I am also the resource person for Eyesight Connections. So I take a lot of the calls. You'll see the phone number there for contact. And then those calls are forwarded to me to help people find resources in town. Also, we work with some folks up in Teller County. And so I also have, excuse me, I'm working on renewing connections to the local assisted living facilities where I've had support groups there before. A lot of those folks can't get out, so we want to go to them and provide technology training and maybe a little bit of, just encouragement, peer support. A lot of our folks who are losing vision just need to know somebody else who's going through the same thing. So, as you can tell, I love my job, so I've been doing it for a long time at the Independence Center, and then I moved over to Eyesight Connections. So that's kind of my presentation. If you have any questions.
Jeanette, I failed to mention that one of the reasons why we're having both you and Rebecca here today is because October is Meet the Blind Month.
Yeah.
Kind of a strange name, but that's why we're having presentations by agencies that provide services to the blind.
Mhm.
The other thing that I want to mention, and Clark, I hope this is okay to mention, you have those glasses, don't you? The Meta glasses? I hope it was okay to mention that, but
Oh, absolutely. Um,
Do you like them, Clark?
It's just been an amazing blessing to me. My low vision specialist, when I met with him now probably 5 months ago, I had just side note, but I had a Samsung phone and I said, is there an app here that might help me? My macular degeneration is geographic atrophy, so it's advancing. I've always wanted to be advanced in something, but that wasn't what I had.
Yeah.
And so I often say is it's in everybody's best interest that I'm not driving anymore as well. And so, but at any rate, so when I met with Dr. Pusateri, he said, well, first thing you need to do is get an iPhone 16. And he started to show me, you mentioned technology, some of the things that this phone would do that my old phone would not do. And that's been a godsend to me to be able to help to read some things. Then he said, have you ever heard of these Ray-Ban Meta glasses? So those that aren't familiar with it, and Debbie, as you mentioned, there's cameras in my glasses. And so, and I could take a picture of everybody if you wanted me to. But more importantly, I can hold this agenda up, which I pretty much can read, but I can hold it in front of me and ask my glasses to read it to me. And they'll read the document to me. I can't really see that screen, but I could ask my glasses to read the screen to me and it'll read it to me. I can do that sort of thing on my computer, but some PDFs that I get that I need to work with, my computer won't read them. That's all right. I pull it up on the screen and I ask my glasses to read it to me. So the ability to be able to function with the kinds of things that I want to do, the things I want to read that I couldn't before and haven't for a while, it's just been a godsend to me. So, and just for what it's worth, the glasses themselves without a prescription, and mine also have a prescription and such, but are only, I think they're less than $400. So for somebody that, and of course, if you add all the prescription stuff that I have, they're a lot more expensive, but my Medicare Advantage paid for half of it. So at any rate, yeah, I'm happy to advocate for that. And I feel an opportunity and frankly, an obligation to do so. Because as you note, there are many people that have vision issues and are not willing to admit it. And I think I probably was one of those for a couple of years before it was not appropriate for me to drive anymore. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to respond further, but that's what I would share.
Clark, I love them because I can read my own menus in the restaurants.
There you go.
And I
Perfect.
can read the cans and the boxes and the bags in my kitchen. No more mystery meals, you know. There are applications on the iPhones you can use for that. But the nice thing about the Meta glasses is it's hands-free. You know, if you just look at it and you say, Meta, describe to me what's in front of me. People have found them helpful when you're going into buildings you're not familiar with because it reads signs. One of my coworkers used them to go through a museum, and he enjoyed the fact that somebody else did not have to read the displays to him. The Meta glasses read them to him.
Exactly.
So they're really, like you said, and they're not that expensive. I think the price is getting ready to go up, but it's still right around $400. And you can put your prescriptions in there as well. They were not created for blind people. They're used by a lot of young people. I have a son who's a mechanic, and he said a lot of his coworkers use them to listen to their music while they're working because it's hands-free. And so they're really interesting. I enjoy them. You know, it's kind of nice. And like he said, he can take a picture and have the glasses described to him who's sitting around the table with him, and which is interesting. And so I learned something new about them every day. They're just one of the nice pieces of technology. There are 3 different kinds of glasses that do that. One of them is Echo Vision, which has not been released yet. which comes out in November.
I figured as soon as I got these, there'd be a new and improved version.
Yes, there's a new version. So Tim, and one of my friends always likes to say it's not a bad time to be blind. When we were going to school, you know, there was nothing that read to you, or if there were CCTVs, they were several $1,000s. And now the technology, although it's still expensive, is much more affordable for the average person. And we have some grants, and that's one of the things we do also is help people apply for grants to receive equipment. Any other questions or comments?
Sure. Jeanette, this is Jody. It's good to see you.
Hey, Jody.
You know, with the ARPA funds, we were able to help provide some benefit to building out the computer lab.
Mhm.
Can you share anything about that for us?
Which computer
The
lab?
computer lab at Eyesight with Tim and his.
Oh, so we
Yes.
we have several computers that are set up with a big 24-inch screens, and we have some adaptive technology on them. We have a JAWS, which is the screen reader. It reads the screen to you. And then we have the Zoom text, which is what enlarges it. And we do, Jan does training on computers with that. And then, and if you look at the list of things she does, online shopping, emails, those sorts of things, that's because that's pretty much what our seniors want, you know, because they're retired and they want to be able to do their online shopping, their Amazon, and then emails and just surfing the web and that sort of thing. So that's been really beneficial for several of our seniors. We have a couple of them that are losing their vision, but they have come in and decided to learn this technology before they actually need it. So that was a really nice. Those are really nice computers, and those screens are really big too. They love it, those big 24-inch screens.
Great, thank you. Yeah, just to share with the RAC members, they did apply specifically for this computer lab in the new space there. Some of you may remember at North Academy and North Academy and Carefree, the old Penrose Community Hospital. They have space in there now, and they built this computer lab out, just as Jeanette described, to really train people how to use that as they lose their vision. So very excited to hear that it's already well occupied and well used. So thank you.
Yeah, and we use it also because a lot of people want to learn Zoom. You know, that's the thing. Since the pandemic, we've all had to learn how to use Zoom, and Zoom is so simple with your screen readers. And so some of our classes are on Zoom. We have some trainers that are out of town, and people want to learn how to do that. And they also enjoy Zoom. If they don't have FaceTime on a phone or an iPad, Zoom to, you know, communicate with their family, to see their grandchildren and stuff. So it's been a blessing. It's been really, really good. And there's, you know, working with them so they can learn that technology in the lab and then decide if they want to have it at home.
Well, thank you, Jeanette.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Rebecca. Okay.
And as Melissa brings our next presenter up, it's Rebecca Shields, and she is the founder and president of New Visions, another one of our contractors.
Thank you both for your audiovisual support here. We appreciate it. Rebecca and the okay, you're all set.
Oops, I bumped it.
Yep.
Good morning. Thank you for having me also this morning, and I feel privileged to be able to share with you the work and the commitment that New Vision Professional Services has been able to carry forward throughout the time of our journey of becoming a well-known agency in the community and actually beyond that. Let's see, Joe, I think you got the first slide there, Jeremy. Jared, sorry, I'm sorry. Okay, so just the first one there, you'll see that there it says a leap of faith, and that is just kind of my logo of my own mind state of what it's been like to become a business owner. And this year I feel a little old. I've been in human services and working not only since I was 16, but 50 years this year of really serving in not only my own community, but beyond. And so from there, I, worked hard to work jobs throughout. And finally in 2008, I said, I've worked for a lot of people. I've done a lot of things. It's time now that I'll really enjoy the boss. So I thought about starting my own business, and that's how it started in 2008. It was, you can go to the next one, Jared. 2008 was a big year for me because what happened that year is not only did I sign a lot of documents and work with the state to get my my license and everything for the business, but I also decided to make a big commitment and travel over 1,000 miles to get my guide dog and be away from my young children for 28 days. So all of that happened in a 3-month period. I don't know how I did it. Now that I read back about it, I think, who am I reading about? But my dog was my best friend, and he went through this journey with me. And this picture you're seeing of him here, is that correct? You're seeing it there? And that picture was taken late in his life, but it's taken in Denver as I went with actually some of folks from PPACG to Denver and toured the Capitol and went to a big legislative meeting up there. And my dog was really a star in going through that because we were all advocating for some really important stuff. And that was as late as 2019. But I show that because he began this journey with me, and he was a big part of how I managed to get through it a lot. The next slide. This is a location where I was given a donated room and I was there for 10 years. And basically I was allowed to have my support groups and do some class there in a very small area of a bigger room, but they use this for a lot of things. It belongs to a church. And so I used that for 10 years, and it was okay. You can go to the next slide, Jeremy. It was okay, but it had a lot of drawbacks to it. But I had no other choice. I just had never really thought about an office. And as you see there, the one slide, the ladies getting is that on the bus there? Is that correct? Are you seeing that there? Okay. And and then also, it's a busy street, and it was really hard for people to get out to the Metro bus and for the bus to put the lift down and get everybody on. I do have some wheelchair users, and so anyway, that was interesting. Okay, the next slide. But we did a lot there in this one little room, and you'll see there where we're having a gathering. Is that right? You're seeing that there? I have to ask you because I don't want to get ahead of you there. Is that slide? Okay. So, we're one of the things that, like Jeanette mentioned, these folks love social events. They love getting together with other folks who are dealing with what they are. So this one picture you're seeing is, I believe it was a Christmas party. And I remember, how are we going to do this? But we had almost 50 people there that day, and their family, caregiver or a provider of they use in the community or someone. It was a wonderful day, but it was a small area, and people brought items to share for food and things, and New Vision provided many paper goods. Now that was way back. Well, anyway, in 2017, so you see there, slide number, are you there? It's like number 6 there. Where are you there, Jeremy? I have to be sure I'm not talking too far ahead. Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. So in 2017, I made a decision. I talked with a business colleague, and they said, "Hey, there's a space over off North Hancock in the senior center area there." And I thought, wow. And so this person said, "I think you should go look at it." Well, I got on the phone and I called and I talked with the property manager. And as you know, all of you know that the property belongs to the city, but the property manager and I talked, he's like, "Yeah, you can see it." Well, I went, and the people were getting ready to move out, the business that was there. And I mean, it was really busy there. They had stuff everywhere. It was so hard for me to get the concept of this layout, but I said, "Okay, well, I think I can make this work." He said, "Okay, come to my office and we'll talk about the paperwork and everything." So here I take a bus, and my dog and I go to this strange place I'd never been, and it was over by Coronado High School, and I in this big building, and I get there. I don't know anybody I'm meeting with, but this one gentleman I met with once. Anyway, I ended up taking a big leap of faith and signing the lease and getting the keys to the building, paying the deposit, and it moved on from there. So 6.5 years I was in this location. And as Jeanette talked about the services, well, this is where I decided I really wanted to expand services. I could really make it work. And I had been doing services in this little dwelling place in the donated place, but I just couldn't do what I really wanted to do. And it was very hard. And I had all my materials and everything at home, and getting places and meeting with people was just a disaster. It was so difficult for me and clients. So then when we move in, and you'll see there on the slide where we're moving in. We're having all of these activities. We'd moved in, we got organized, and you see there where we're having an open house there. Do you see that there? Oh, okay. I hope. Yes. So we had this nice open house, and lots of people came, and my family and friends, they were just so supportive of this whole thing. And I thought, this is going to work. This is going to be okay. And this is my forever place, right? You always think that forever. Nothing is forever. Nothing is, as we all know, right? But, I was so over the moon that, I had this location and I could make this work. Or for 6.5 years, I did. We had a lot of trials. We had a lot of stumbling blocks. But it was absolutely what I thought was the next thing to sliced bread. It was just more than I'd ever had. I was so grateful. I mean, we made it through. Well, we'd been there 6 months when we had an attempt break-in. And I kind of chuckle because I'm like, oh my gosh, at the time I just thought that was the most disastrous thing that could happen. But oh no, it got worse. And so they didn't get in. They took a crowbar to the back door, but they didn't get in. Then we have COVID. And then I deal with this, and I can't even go to my office. I can't do anything. I'm on the phone with people, and I'm encouraging them. And we have conference call with clients, and we're having these phone calls. Well, we got through COVID, and, and then that took a while. And then we go back and try to get started, and lo and behold, my faithful friend is at the end. So then, I have to put my dog down, and this whole thing just affects everything you do. But my clients are still there. We're still having lots of classes. Our life skills class, we have a kitchen where we're doing, as Jeanette said, adaptive cooking and doing cleaning and organizing, having support groups. We do Braille class. We do, all the classes that we really can perform and do well. Well, then we have a windstorm. We're going to have a big Christmas party. We have a windstorm and all the electricity goes out. And I go to the office and I say, well, we can still have this. We're a bunch of blind people. We can still be without electricity. And so, my person who is going to play the organ, that runs off electricity, brings their keyboard, and it's my 90-year-old father, and he's like, I can do this. So he brings his keyboard. We can handle that, no electricity. But then I discover the ice cream melts in the freezer, but no electricity. It was quite the day. So, but we made it. We had a Christmas party. No one was left out. Everybody came. Well, life is okay. We're going to make it. Then we move forward, and I have 3 clients in an apartment fire. One loses everything. So New Vision comes in, helps with giving that person, some household goods, and that we had left over from some donations of things for seniors and their seniors. And it's like, oh my gosh, now what? Well, then the real storm hit. And if you'll go to slide number 7 there, if you're there with me. Yeah. So we get, is a while yet before this came, but the storm hit. And in May of 2022, there's this newspaper article, and I find out that we are being told we're moving. I'm like, oh my golly, now what? Well, I dealt with that for a whole year before it actually. So what you're seeing on slide 7 is the beginning of our move in 2023. So for a whole year, I have this on my shoulders that we're moving. And where are we going? I don't know. So the red tape begins. And everyone in the complex, I'm the one that told them, I can't even read the newspaper, except I read it online. But I read this article and I'm like, what? So I start calling all my business colleagues in the complex. I said, did you see the article? What article? Then they're all like, 2 or 3 of them that I was friends with. And they're like, oh. So that whole year, I worked through getting a place for us. How is this going to work? I couldn't have done it without folks like Jody and a gentleman who was contracted with the city for a relocation. The project they took on, relocation. I couldn't have done it without folks like that behind me. I looked at 50 spaces in this community to which one was the best for my people. Not me, the best for the people I serve. The red tape, I had to figure out how it's going to get moved. You saw on slide 8 there, where we when I went shopping for stuff on Hancock. Did you see that there? The shopping we did. I have my own furniture. I have a whole 1,300 square foot unit of furniture and materials, and I'm like, what am I doing? I had to I interviewed a moving company. I had to look at a storage place. I, took all of this on to make sure that New Vision was protected. And the only way to do it was stay strong and get it done. But a good thing it was a year, because if it had been a month, I wouldn't have lived. I'd be in the ground by now. But I did that. And then talking with many different landlords, many different people who have property, I was put through the ropes. How can you do this? How can you run a business when you don't see yourself? How can you help people? I'm worried that if you're, helping people prepare the microwave, prepare food, what if you start a fire? What if people said those things, and I'm like, oh, well, I haven't done that yet, so I don't think I will. But and then, well, how can I be sure that, because you guys can't see, you can't get out of here if there's an emergency. I can't. I said, no, you don't have to worry about that. We have all that worked out. Well, I was becoming very discouraged. And in between, if you go to slide number 10, I think it is, right? And we're in between where we are. Do you see that there, Jared? Oh, okay, that's when we're moving. Now we're moving. Yeah. Okay, so you see there, the things are packed up in the kitchen, right? Okay, and then the next one there, see the conference room, all these boxes. I literally had 70 boxes packed, labeled, and marked, with our name, New Vision, both in print and braille, property of New Vision. So not one box would get lost. Each box had a number on it. And we packed all 70 of them. We have all of our furniture. And then you see us there getting the moving truck there. That was interesting. Thought I was going to have to ride the truck. No. Okay. And then now what do you see there, Melissa? Now okay. Is that number nine? What number is that? Can you Oh,
Small temporary suite
okay,
on
you're
North
one ahead of
Union.
me. Just, can you go back to 10, to number 9 there for a second, please? 9. Okay, you see there that big room there where we're at? Okay, I don't want to confuse you. Okay, so we're in between. I have no place, and we're in between. But one of our clients is having a 90th birthday party, invitation only. And so I was invited. I thought, I've got to go to this. I have to let her know that I'm, still alive and we're going to make it here. And she had had a fall, so she couldn't come to us. And so I went to the facility where she was for her 90th party. Now, you see, number 10, here's a Christmas party. Do you see this? Okay, now I want to tell you about this. This is really important. I said to myself, I cannot let my people down. We will have a Christmas party. I'll do what I can. So I rented a clubhouse. And my father lives at a mobile home park, and I rented the clubhouse. And you see here where Santa is talking to this lady. You see that there? 95-year-old lady. She had just come to me earlier in the spring and was losing her vision. And she really wanted to, be a part of something. She moved here from another town, and there she is with Santa, and it just moved her. Then you see there where he's with another client there, and that's actually he's 92. Then the next one, I want you to see, this is another man there. Are you there with me? This gentleman lost his sight in a matter of 2 days. And an accident. And he had called me, and his wife really felt like he could benefit from us. So he comes to this Christmas party and he's talking to Santa. And Santa said to him, well, I've been doing this a long time, and I'd like to offer you a real gift. He said, I would like to offer you that if you come to New Vision, you're gonna be all right, because I've been with these people for a long time. And he said, and I really feel like you can do this. Would you do me a favor and give it a try for the new year? And the man said, I'll give it one try. And if I like it, I'll keep coming. And Santa said, that's my gift to you. I can promise you that it'll work. Well, then the man came, and he's still coming. And it was interesting. It was very, very moving. But Santa, I want to tell you before we move to the next one, Santa died that year. And that was really very hard for us, because we've been with Santa for all these years. And he had offered this man a gift and told him how good New Vision was. And that was very, very emotional for me, for that he felt that way. Well, every year at Christmas, when we have our party, we hang ornaments on the tree for the people who have passed on. And so this last year, 24, when we had our party, then I of course had to have a new Santa, but we hung the ornament for the other Santa. And the Santa that came to our party this year said to me, she said, you know, I thought I was bringing you folks a gift by being Santa. And she said, but you've given me something today that I didn't know I was going to get. And it's more than a gift. It's the hope for life. And I said, what is that? She said, well, I've been dealing with some vision issues, and now I know where to come. I didn't know before I came in the door. And she said, I don't know how much longer I can be Santa or what I can do. She said, but I do know that I can do a lot of other things after coming here today. So anyway, in moving on, then, you know, after all of the work that I'd done to talk to people, find a place, I thought, what am I going to do? Well, in late 23, I know I skipped to the party, but in late 23, I found a resource that I didn't even realize I, you know, knew the person. And we had been longtime business colleagues for a long time. And I found out they bought some property. And so they said, hey, I think, you know, I can help you. I said, okay, let's try it. She said, well, she said, I'll have a space available in the complex real soon, but I'll offer you a small room since you have nothing right now, except for, you know, back and forth places. And I'll offer you a small room. And that's where you see the small room there on 11. Do you see it there? Very small room. I said, I'll take it. And they were really good to us. And she's very honest. And she had a very big heart for what I do and for the people I serve. Well, I was there, and I was only going to be there a couple of months because she thought the space was going to be available real soon. And I didn't know what I was going to do about a space as far as refurbishing because ARPA money hadn't fully come through yet. And so, but I was in touch with Jody, and thank goodness I had the support of Melody and Jody and Melissa and the people here at PPACG. You were really the backbone I needed, and other supports that I had. But anyway, we find out in the middle of all this that the person in this space can't move yet. They had a very serious, catastrophic event in their life, and they just couldn't move the business. I said, okay. She said, well, just keep on trying to see. And I thought, well, if ARPA comes through, then we'll do it. So then it did. ARPA came through, thank goodness. And Jody just spoke about that. I want to tell you, it was a lifesaver. We had some funding from the city because they had to compensate us for, no, they have to, but that was part of the agreement with businesses for the relocation funding. But it wasn't a lot. And by golly, they set some really fast rules on what we could do. Well, one of the things, you know, I wanted from my people is we need our own entrance because people have trouble finding their way in. And when you're in a hallway or you're on the third floor or whatever, that's really difficult for seniors. And they feel very insecure. I can't leave a group of people and make sure that someone's getting in the door down on another level or whatever, or even in a hallway, because these people are very unfamiliar with what's going on since they've lost most of their vision. And so I want to be and have my volunteer, if they're helping at the door or whatever, right there. So having my own entrance was critical. It was one of my main things about having my own space and what I needed. The second thing was a bathroom. And, you know, you have to have an ADA bathroom for people who are wheelchair users or whatever. And I'd had one on Hancock. I had a ADA bathroom. And people don't want to go down the hall or downstairs to use the restroom when they're unfamiliar with it, where they can't see who's been in there before, what might be, you know, on the floor where the paper towels are, where the trash is hard on folks. Even though you work with them, these folks have other things on their mind and they have a difficult time. So that was the other thing. And then I'd had a kitchen where we did all our education of home living and all of our preparing of how they can make their own salad and how they can have lunch together and enjoy each other. And they don't have to be afraid of how their etiquette is until they've learned their skills. They're struggling. Those were my priorities. And I didn't find a place that could meet those priorities and be fair about it until I met the property owner that I did. But I can't get into this room. So with the ARPA money, I knew I could make some changes in this place where this person needed to get out. Finally, they did. But after meeting with, 5 contractors, several architects, and learning, hey, this person really cares about, no, this person really wants my money, and that's all they're caring about. I had to be very careful, but it worked. So then here you are at slide 12, and when the remodeling has started. And I mean, I have to tell you that when I signed the contract and thought the refurbishing was starting, I thought I was in a dream. I thought it wasn't real. So much had happened that I thought, how can I possibly believe in this? Is it really going to happen? And when I chose my decor, had to choose flooring and had to choose what I needed, colors, paint, everything. So I had a wonderful resource that I've used many times come and help choose the colors with the contractor. And at the same time, the same day she's sitting with me and the contractor and choosing our colors, that very day her daughter had been diagnosed with cancer. And so she was giving me that time and that moment in her life when really she had her own storm, and here she's helping me complete the storm I'd been in, and now the storm's in her path. And I was so grateful that this person was willing to do this with me after all that they'd been through. Well, as you see, moving on to the next one, they continued to build in, and it went from there. And then I couldn't believe it. The leap of faith happened. And we moved in, you see there where we're moving in. And we did the walkthrough with the contractor. We did the made sure everything was the way we wanted it. And I want you to look at let's see. So we got things all arranged, all unpacked and everything. And if you look at slide 14, I want to call this to your attention. This is are you there with me at slide 14? I call it A, the top left corner there. You see there a cabinet there? Do you see that? That cabinet is one of my dreams, folks. This is a display cabinet that I ordered, and my contractor put it together for me. And it is displaying the history of blind and visually impaired people throughout time. And it has in there, it might be hard to see on the slide, but it has has many items that have been the history of people's learning to be independent and learning Braille and learning how to manage their lives and how they did it. And some really wonderful pioneers that had a whole lot less than those of us today have, but they made it and they became useful in society, very contributing members of society. And there's some at the bottom there, you may not be able to see it, but there's items there from 1890 and lots of equipment, bringing us up to, like Jeanette was talking about, some technology times and how far we've come. And the appreciation that we have for what we have now because of what those people didn't have. Then slide 15, here we are, a ribbon cutting. What is a ribbon cutting? I'm thinking in my head, how do I do it? I never done a ribbon cutting. I mean, on Hancock, I ordered a cake and a bunch of food, and and had a lot of people there and was as nervous as I could get. And I'm thinking, a ribbon cutting? Oh, and people are like, no, you have to do the ribbon cutting. You made it through this. You have to do that. I'm like, okay. So I had all this support, and so we put it together. Well, what happens just before the ribbon cutting? You want to know? We had that massive snowstorm the day of the ribbon cutting in November of 24. Do you remember? I had to call people like crazy and say, oh, we're doing it next week. It was just crazy. And so here I am, and thank goodness only 2 people showed up thinking I would be out in there that storm and they'd be there. But then they learned that I wasn't there. But we made it. And you see the next slide down, you see there the room of people there, and those are our volunteers. Do you see all of that there? And pretty soon you see Jody. You see Jody and I there. We're going to cut the ribbon. You see that there? What I want to tell you is through all of this, we didn't lose services. We didn't lose people. Well, I take that statement back. I've lost folks through all the career I've had of human services, and unfortunately, life isn't forever either. And as I go back and I looked at all my notes, and I kind of, since I've been working with human services, I think I've lost probably close to 300 people since I started this journey of working with folks. That's not all seniors, of course, but maybe more than that. Some names I might have missed. And but for our seniors, our tree is full of ornaments with names on them. Those who left us with a legacy. I remember in 2021, and I went to see a man that was dying, and his caregiver had called me and said, he's asking for you. Can you please come? I'm like, okay. So I went, and he had gone in then to a coma, and he couldn't talk when I got there. And I talked to him, hoping that he could hear me, and I thanked him for the gifts he had brought to New Vision, the gift of hope, the gift of keep going to people. And when he first walked in my office, he said, I can't do this. I don't care. I can't see. I'm not going to do this. But by the time that life was almost over for him, and he said to his caregiver, he said, do me a favor. And his caregiver said, what would that be that? And he said, if they talk about me and they want to fill my inbox, he said, don't forget to say, I didn't even want to live this long, but the only reason I did was because I had the support of New Vision. They gave me the new vision to do it again, continue with a new hope. And that's why it's called New Vision, because we have I want everyone to have a new beginning, a new hope. I want to give them what, as you saw the statement on the first slide, I have the burning desire to give them the freedom of independence and help them to have quality of life, help them to stay in their homes. And, I have a lot of folks, they don't care anything about using the computer. Maybe they do, some of them do. But what they do care about is the fact that they can still be with their family, they can still get themselves dressed, they can still make themselves a meal, and they can still have hope. And that's where it starts. They got to have the coping skills first. They've got to have the desire to keep going, even though they've had a loss in their lives. Not everyone I work with has lost vision with older in age. Some people I have been visually impaired all their life, but that doesn't mean they always have the hope. Sometimes they've lost it for other reasons. But I try very hard to bring them that. Our programs have expanded a lot since we've been where we are now. We've been able to work more with, for years, I've done a program with the police department, and I've been done the curriculum of being safe without vision. And so I've worked with, I go way back working with a police officer clear back to 2000 that worked at the School for the Blind. And she and I worked real closely together. And after her retirement, she referred me to other people, and I've worked with them. And they come and talk to our folks after I take them through the process of a curriculum of being safe without sight. We've expanded our other classes. I have a licensed orientation mobility instructor who works with them on their independent travel. I have a teacher who teaches Braille and life skills. We do a lot of support groups. We do a lot of learning about what's available statewide, nationwide, what can enhance your life. And I want to thank a lot of people who are probably able to know who may be listening to this or seeing it, because I know a lot of folks, but particularly PPACG has been a backbone for New Vision. And I want to thank you for that. And I'm working hard with another entity nationwide so that they can teach other people how to work with area on aging so that people with vision can continue to have the support through area on aging. Because right now, the biggest cry out from seniors is we don't have any supports, not here, but nationwide. And so I'm on a committee that we're working together to help area on agings across the nation to become familiar with what El Paso County has done for New Vision here. And they are looking at our program as a sample, as a good model for what other people around the nation can do. And I'm in touch with people I'm trying to get them trained and get them going to develop this. And area on aging is really the backbone of that. And I want to thank you very much for that. A lot of our equipment that we use has been donated to us. A lot of folks who pass on, their families have called me and said, look, we have this. We'd like for you to use this. Can you, help? So we allow our clients to use it and borrow it. And then when, something happens, then we've asked them that they make sure that their family give it back to New Vision. That's worked real well. It's really helped people to stay in touch with how to have equipment, but yet they don't have the money for it. And it might as well be used. Do you have questions? I'm happy to answer them. Maybe I talk way too much. I don't want to do that. So I don't want to bore you or whatever. I promised Melissa I'd watch my time.
Rebecca, this is Debbie, the chair. I just want to say that your fortitude in providing services, I think, is a really good role model for the people that you're providing services to. I mean, I think they see what you've gone through, how much you've survived, and you keep going. And so I really appreciate your talk today, because I think it really told us all about what's involved in actually providing a business and keeping it going and doing that. So I really thank you for your presentation.
Well, I hope I gave you enough of information that you know that for sure we carry out our services all the time. But the really big issue is that we have carried them out no matter what we've been through. We didn't let it go. I didn't want my seniors to be someplace where they weren't going to be safe, where they're vulnerable. I wanted them to be as protected as possible, and I take all caution for them to be protected. And we talk about how to be safe. We are locked. Our door is locked when we're there. It's locked when I'm not there, but it's for their protection so that no one walks in on us and who are you? What do you need? And it's a safety thing. We have to in this time, but we certainly practice, we have a secret code that if there was an emergency, if I was to receive an alert suddenly and we were to shelter in place, I teach my people a code, and I would say a word and they all know, and they would know immediately that I'm very serious and that, we have to do that. to protect them and to protect me because I'm responsible for their surroundings and for them. And I take that very seriously. I don't want to be just somewhere out and about and something happen. So, I mean, I think people come to my place and they feel like this is their place. This is a sense of belonging. They feel safe. It's a safe haven for them. They can go out in the community if they choose with family or friends if they want, but they come here to identify with other people and have a real place for them. They come in, they're learning how to get their own coffee. They know where the snacks are. They may ask for assistance, but they don't have to feel insecure that they might make a mistake. If you spill something, it gets cleaned up. It's no big deal. You don't have to be embarrassed, but it starts there, especially with the 80-year-old person who once could see and did everything just fine. And now they feel very insecure.
Well, again, thank you, Rebecca, for your presentation.
Thank you.
And we're going to move on. We're on 6B, and that's membership committee. And I don't think Jen is online, and I don't think we have anything regarding our membership committee. Maybe Jody, the person from the Independence Center, do you know what's happening with that?
That was Daniel, who was able to meet with us last month when we were in Monument. Haven't seen him today because that is not an appointed seat. He has to go through the application process.
Okay.
So that is in process
Okay,
with
great.
Melissa.
Thank you.
Melissa, do you have anything to share around membership?
Like
I don't think
about our
any.
person from the Independence Center who might be joining us?
Actually, we had a meeting with the Independent Center. I had a meeting with the Independent Center and Adult Protective Services not too long ago. And the Independent Center has put forth a different prospect. We're back to Scotty Bibb, and Scotty Bibb is their marketing person. And it's Miss Scotty Bibb. And so she is in the process of turning in her application. So that's great. And then Adult Protective, or DHS, is still thinking about who they're going to put forward for a member. So that's where we're at.
So maybe we'll hear more next month.
Probably. I am thinking that we will see Scotty Bibb's application probably in the next 2 days because she just told me today she's filling it out. So
great.
We should see that come through soon.
Great. Thanks for that update, Melissa. So we're going to move on to C, which is the Strategic Review Committee, and Laura is the chair. And we did have a meeting, so I think she's going to give a summary of that meeting.
Yes, happy to, Madam Chair. Thank you. We did meet and we had very lively discussion. Thank you all who attended. Most of the discussion was around 3 areas. It was transportation, caregivers, and administration. Those were the focus areas. The transportation piece obviously had a lot to do with urban versus rural, and the rural piece, thank you, Sheila, was well represented. There are voids that are being filled, but there are gaps, and certainly as resources dry up, the gaps grow and the voids become larger. So it's a matter of how to encourage communities and the people in the communities to step up and help to fill those voids permanently or temporarily. Obviously, we came to no conclusions because we don't know what the numbers are. And that becomes an issue in and of itself. From the caregiver perspective, we had, again, really lively discussion because at some point in time, most of us that were there have been caregivers. And so we brought forth some of our own personal experiences about what is lacking in terms of supporting caregivers. One of the things that came out of this was the fact that with Paula Levy's services gone, there's another void that's created how do we fill that? Again, I think out of our meeting, we had more questions and more question marks than we had solutions, unfortunately. The Okay, we had discussion about case management. Now help me with this, Melissa. There was a case management person hired, Tian. Okay, with housing background. We also highlighted Silver Key, Myron Stratton, and Ruscio. Thank you. Who've all opened buildings and with more buildings in the works for to support excuse me, to support seniors and people needing that type of support. Broadband, that was one area that we didn't really talk about because there's not a whole lot we can do about it at this point in time. Again, so much of this goes back to funding. Let's see. The Ombudsman program has a positive 2024 program review. And then we talked about SHIP, the State Health Insurance Assistance Program. Katie, who I believe is online, thank you for being there, is on board, and she is getting trained for open enrollment and the Reimagining Retirement. She attended outreach events. She's been busy. She came from work signing. She came from a job signing seniors up for Medicare savings programs, and she's trained in filling out appeals, which is certainly something that would be very, very beneficial to a lot of people. Obviously, there are no conclusions here. It's just kind of a report. Until we have something concrete to address in terms of numbers, it's really hard to, to say anything concrete. But I think for all intents and purposes, it was an extremely successful meeting. Again, thank you all for attending, and we need to do it again in a quarter. Maybe we'll have some information to use that can help us a lot.
And again, just for the RAC to know that we are one of the only area agencies that meets regarding our strategic review subcommittee, and it's really necessary because we're coming up on having to develop a new 4-year plan. And so the fact that we've kind of kept up to date on what we've been doing and what our needs continue to be is really important when we develop our 4-year plan, when our staff develops the 4-year plan. Any other questions or concerns? Okay, letter D is the technical review subcommittee, and I think Jody's going to talk a little bit about that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is that time of the contract process. And so what I would like to ask and go ahead and propose is if you are interested in sitting on the technical review subcommittee, to let Melissa and I know. We will establish the actual dates of that and when you might and may be receiving the RFP paperwork. But I'll back up a little bit to give some context. So the RFP, the request for proposal for the next 2-year contract period, was released this past Friday. So we're barely a week into the RFP being open to the public. We also by direct communication, let our current contractor providers know that has been open. And I know we're already starting to see some questions from our providers and acknowledgement that they're starting that process. October 1st, we will hold the mandatory RFP conference, and it's simply a meeting that it does require all current and potential applicants to be in person to receive the information or to view the recording. If they don't get the RFP information until after the first, we recognize that and make sure that they have the recording that they could acknowledge and watch. That RFP conference is a big picture description of what is an area agency on aging, what is the funding, how does it work, how does the RFP work, expectations around the grant management administration, match requirements in kind versus cash, and that kind of thing. And so it is put together by myself, Melody, our associate director and contracts administrator, lead that. We will also have our finance director who will help folks understand the match requirements that we have to meet as part of this funding. But that'll be on Wednesday, October 1st at, I believe it is at 10 a.m. here, but let me just double check. It is at 10:30 here in this conference room, and so you are welcome to be online for that. Even though it is in person, it is also a virtual meeting. So for our providers who may be in Teller and Park County, they will be able to access this virtually as well. So that's coming up. November 14th is when the RFP system will close. And so all applications are due by November 14th. And you can see there at 11 submissions are due by 11:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And it's surprising how we have to actually put that in there because they do come in sometimes at the very last minute. But so the request for proposal process is an application process to access funding. It allows providers to describe their programs. It also allows them to describe the funding that they are requesting to provide those programs. It is also the pertinent system that allows us to connect all of their information that will show that they are in compliance, both as businesses, nonprofits, whether they've done work with us before. It gives us the opportunity to collect all of the pertinent data to confirm that they may be a suitable provider with us. The technical review subcommittee, we do have some tentative dates here in your packet, but these are tentative because our goal is to avoid both our providers having to work through the holidays. That's why we have it due before Thanksgiving, and then also want to realize that staff will have a heavy lift after the closing of the RFP to make sure that we've reviewed all the documents and applications, as well as confirming those that are eligible, and if we need to reach out to submitters with questions and that kind of thing. What'll happen is the technical review subcommittee will then receive the applications and will have the opportunity to review those on their own. And then we will meet together with the TRS subcommittee and staff to take a deep dive into those RFPs. A couple of things that have changed in the last few months and related to the federal rules update is I want to bring this to your attention. We touched on it very briefly at the last RAC meeting, but I want to make sure that if you are interested in being part of the TRS, that you know a couple of things that we have to now abide by under the new regs related to to conflicts of interest. And so if you sit on a board that is applying for funds, you may not sit on the TRS subcommittee. I'm looking right across the room here. We all know, you know, but from a public standpoint, we do have to make sure that we're following the new processes. So as I mentioned in the last RAC meeting, we will have a form. It's going through a review process right now, but a very simple form that you'll list any associations with boards, employment, ownership of both local, state, and national that may have a conflict of interest. And then the system is actually, we are able to meet the new federal requirements simply by avoiding having those members sit on the TRS. They may, however, vote at the RAC meeting where we vote to receive the recommended funding and allocation. And what we will do is simply ask that those who may have a possible conflict simply to raise their hand before we take the vote, acknowledge that the general membership of the RAC will vote to approve, allowing them to vote, and then we'll go into the voting process. And this is an important distinction for folks that may not know, because at the RAC level, we do not vote on a line-by-line item. We vote in full, in as a whole allocation recommendation. And so that's an important distinction between someone who may be sitting on the technical review subcommittee, where we're going line by line, talking about the funding allocations, versus the larger RAC meeting. And so our participants, our council members who are on the RAC will still have the opportunity to weigh in on the whole allocation. So as we finalize that process, just wanted to share that that is coming. We will ask all current members as well as incoming members and to complete this document, and then we will also make this a part of new applicant packet as well, so everyone is familiar with that. Yes, Madam Chair.
So I have a question, Jody. So
Yes.
what happens if a person is on a board or whatever of an agency that is asking for funding, but the funding that agency is asking for is the only agency in a particular county, for example, that might be receiving that kind of funding, for example, meals from Silver Key. Will that affect whether that person can sit on that can sit on the advisory?
On the TRS? Yes, by the new federal regulations, they would not be able.
They still would not be able
They are
to.
not allowed to review any
Okay.
of the RFP documentation coming in, even if it's a single.
Okay, just thought I'd
Right.
clarify
Yeah.
that.
Yes, not a worries. And we have had somewhat of a light touch in the conflict of interest arena, but now with these new federal requirements, we have to have a process in place, and we will follow that. And I really don't see this affecting us overall. Yes, Melissa.
So with the Independence Center, they contract with us as the ADRC or ARDC, the ADRC?
The ADRC, yes.
Are they able to sit on the TRS?
So they, that is not Area Agency on Aging, Older Americans Act, or Older Coloradans Act funding. So that is a distinct difference. It is federal funding, but it comes through a completely different contracting process. That contracting process actually without getting into a whole lot of details, is actually going to be changing, because we contract with HCPF, Healthcare Policy and Finance, for that contract, and they're actually changing their contract process. So by the time we get into funding, it may not even be an issue. So we'll cross that particular bridge when we come to it. But yes, it is an entirely different funding source and contract base. And so the Area Agency on Aging, or excuse me, the Regional Advisory Council does not have a connection with that. And so it doesn't weigh in on this process. So that's what we'll address that more fully, and any questions, we'll have a form for you. So don't be surprised, RAC members, when Melissa or I track you down with a form to fill out. But like I said, it's just really putting the appropriate final touches on what we've done as a regular practice, making sure that we're open and transparent in our processes and on our voting. But now with the federal regulations changing, we have to have a form and showing that we have a process to meet those requirements.
And if I remember correctly, we're looking at maybe early in December for that meeting where the committee, the technical review committee, would meet with the staff to come up with the final recommendations. Is that correct?
Yes, the November 14th, as you know, we'll have Thanksgiving holiday break shortly thereafter. I want to make sure that we're careful in not rushing through the process. So we've given ourselves plenty of time by opening the RFP this early. Normally it doesn't open in September. Normally it doesn't open until closer to Thanksgiving. And so we've given ourselves plenty of time that we don't have to feel rushed as we go through the system this year, and to make sure that staff have plenty of time, and then TRS members have plenty of time, and then we will convene that meeting. And so if you are interested in being a TRS member, your role will be to review the RFP documents sent to you by Melody, our contracts administrator, review those with specific guidelines in mind, and all of this will be laid out for you. And then we also have a scoring system that we would ask you to score along the way. And so this will be at home work. And then you would bring that. We've really fine-tuned the process to make sure that everyone has the time that they need to engage in the process without having to sit here in a conference room for 5 or 6 hours or multiple days, as the process used to be. And I'm looking around the room with folks who have sat in on that process, and we've really fine-tuned it to make sure that there's still quality input, that our TRS members have the information that they need to make those objective recommendations. And so we will fine-tune those dates. So that will close out the technical review update on the subcommittee update on that. Again, if you're interested in participating on that subcommittee, please let Melissa and I know so that we can start building out schedules and that sort of thing. For my report, it's a little quiet. The RFP process, as I mentioned, has been a big lift this year, and part of that is I'll give kudos to Melody in making sure that we had everything that we needed in line to make sure that we could open our process a little earlier this year, because that has been a heavy lift, and we've acknowledged feedback from our providers who have staff away for the holidays, and we want to make sure that we're not creating a more of an administrative burden than what is necessary. So kudos to Melody in pulling that together, and Jared for getting that out through our required outlets. I want to share that we've taken a team watch party approach to a lot of great seminars and webinars here recently, and fortunately, because a lot of those are on Eastern time, they end up hitting right across lunch here in the mountain time, and so we've been we've been having lunch together as a staff, and it's I make it open. Sometimes it's very topical specific, and so it's very specific to a team. Sometimes it's a general topic, but my goal is to make sure that we have the opportunity to see that information together and learn and grow together to ultimately also idea share together. We were recently in a webinar that was very specific to family caregiving supports, and had our family caregiver support center. I'm looking across the room here at Kendra, since she's on staff in that team. And one of the programs that was being highlighted across through this webinar really got the team excited, and just immediately, notes and ideas, and what if we did this, and who do we talk to about that? And it was just really exciting to see that kind of interaction amongst the team, and ultimately figuring out more ways to serve our community. And that's what it's really all about. We've also had a lot of outreach engagement. Melissa has just been up to her elbows in coordinating outreach events. These are your senior expos and senior health fairs, and sometimes they're not necessarily pointed directly at seniors, but they do have a senior component. And so really excited that we've had so many opportunities this year and even this fall, September and October. We have, I think, 3 more planned through mid-October. And so our staff are very busy in that. And part of that comes the Yellow Book. The Yellow Book is a big piece that we make available at these senior health fairs and expos and any of our outreach events. And so the current new book is under production, and Jared and I and the contractor that we have that's been helping are coming down to just the last few days on updates, and we have volunteers who have expressed interest to help us with the proofing process when that is ready. And so more to come, but we're still aiming for end of October for our new 25-26 Yellow Book. And by changing it up from a single year to a multi-year like that, we're actually able to get around 14 months of information out to the public, which is really exciting to make sure people have a lot of crossover in their information. The last little bit I will share before Jared comes to share on the legislative side is around funding. Laura alluded to this, some of the challenges as it relates to the current 4-year plan. The state is already starting to work on the planning stages and data gathering of what the next 4-year plan will need to have in it. In fact, Melissa and our meeting, because there was a state meeting earlier this week about some of the things that they're starting to pull together. So we're already starting the planning process internally, and once we have the what's called a program directive from the State Unit on Aging, that will give us the official go to get started. But they're already asking us for our feedback now and input into what should be incorporated in that. So we're happy to be part of that direct feedback process. But the funding does truly remain a concern. As you know, our July 1, our overall funding, despite the back and forth with the reductions in our funding to deal with the potential federal cuts or federal continuing resolution, if there was a concern around the funding coming in, The state had enacted the 25% cut that they asked us to do. They were able to put that right back in. They right-sized our contracts literally within days of us signing the original contract at the 75%. They right-sized us. Now that right size is a little tricky because it was not 100% funding. We did lose about $104,000. That was a net loss of federal funding loss of $109,000 with almost $6,000 gain at the state level. So that gave us a net loss over year of about $104,000, and that's roughly 1.73% loss from last year into this year. Now, the way that we decided internally, we've touched on this again, and this will lead into my final update. The way that we manage the funding, once we did get that initial, both the initial contract amount and the makeup amount from the state, is by pushing flat funding to our providers. Our contractors came into the ultimately the July 1 contract period with an option letter with additional funds at the same contract amount that they started with the first year of the contract period. That means that AAA took the hit for that initial loss of $104,000. We did that with our fingers crossed and knocking on wood that there would be sufficient carryover come into the system that we could make that up, and that our providers would not be in a place where they would either have to close down particular services or dismiss staff of those services. I'm happy to share that based on that did not have to happen. The big picture, however, is that we will be working from a smaller number this year as we start working through the RFP reviews and the starting number, because we don't know what that overall state or federal number is going to look like. And so we've done that over the last 4 or 5 years. We look at the previous year's funding amount. That becomes our starting amount. Our board of directors at the PPACG level has allowed us to go ahead and start our process somewhat in parallel with the funding conversation, because we won't know our actual funding numbers, if all goes well, until April, May, and we have to have contracts signed by the end of June. And so in order for us to continue our internal process, our board of directors have allowed us to use a contingency vote system, which allows me and our staff and you all as a regional advisory council to have a working number that when the new funds actually get determined, then we will either adjust up or down proportionally. Now, what we've done the last couple years is we've been pretty close to those numbers, which is it's good it's easier from a planning perspective, but at the end of the day, it means that our funds aren't increasing enough to really meet the true need of our region. But what that allows us to do is to place those minimal increases into reserve fund that then get combined with carryover and redistributed in the fall or after the first of the year. So there's a process for all of that. We want to make sure that you all are aware of what those processes look like. I invite our RAC members, if you have questions about our funding, concerns at the federal level, the state level. Jared will be up here now to share a little bit more about the legislative process, as well as some of the updates around the state. I have a phone call this afternoon with our State Unit on Aging program director, as well as her supervisor at CDHS, to talk about what things might look like with the federal concerns and how the state might be planning to manage any funding concerns and process.
And if I could just add one thing,
Yes.
I think I just wanted to mention that when you talked about those webinars,
Mhm.
that's USA Aging, isn't it? Or
It's been a variety. US Aging has developed a webinar series on topics, some directly related to program development, some are actual topics. Like I mentioned, US Aging was the Family Caregiver Support Center, but we've also seen those through AS Aging,
Okay, I'm thinking of-
American Society on Aging, and so we really look at those opportunities as ways to grow, as not just as a larger AAA, but individual teams as well.
I think I'm one person on the rack that Jared sends me those because you approved.
Yes,
people-
for those of you who may not know, we are members of US Aging. I sit on the board at the national level. I'm the chair of the membership subcommittee, and also as such, I sit on the leadership committee, which has been great to have that very close knowledge at the national level. But what I do is we have I think 12 spots where I can sign people up for updates. And what I have done is I have included the chair of our RAC and I've included the chair of our Commission on Aging on those email
So I don't-
distributions.
I don't know if you have any other openings or whether, there's other people who might be interested. I zoomed in on the webinar on the Older Americans Act.
Okay.
So, and it was really interesting to find out what's happening federally with our legislature regarding, because it still hasn't been reapproved yet. So that was a really interesting webinar. So I get a lot of those and I, pick and choose which
That's
ones I
good.
might want to
And that's
zoom
sometimes,
into.
yeah, and that's sometimes why we do them as a watch party, because I only have so many
Well-
people that can access or that receive the newsletter. And so we do them as a watch party and I just plug my computer into the the screen. So it works well to have multiple people. So yeah, thank you for doing that, Debbie. I appreciate that. So that, unless someone has questions around the funding, RFP, looking forward to processes into next year and planning, I will turn it over to Jared for the legislative
For
update.
our new legislative update.
All righty. Good morning, everyone. I apologize. I've got a little bit of a frog in my throat. Got a wonderful opportunity to visit our nation's capital along with our executive director last week, and both of us brought something back. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I wish it had stayed in DC. But on the federal side, it's relatively short just because we don't know what's going on. Tuesday at 12 o'clock or at midnight Eastern time is when the government loses its budget authority. What's going to happen? I don't know if anyone knows, honestly. And so I can answer questions, but I really have no answers. So, excuse me, looking at the state. So there was a state budget update earlier this week. This was for the third quarter. Kind of looking at some high level stuff. So right now the state, because of lower revenue expectations, they're about $300 million short for this current fiscal year. After this, had a special session, they cut a whole bunch of more money. They still have more money left to balance the budget. This would be the first year in about 6 years that the state is now expected to hit its taper limit. The biggest thing that would mean for us is that on the senior homestead tax exemption, if that's going to go through, it'll have to be an appropriation. Just because that has always come through the taper refund process. Looking ahead to the next fiscal year, the state is likely to hit its taper limit, so that just kind of throws a few things in there. But I think we've heard this a lot, but there's some structural issues at the state level on the policy and how they administer the budget. And basically, they're going to have some hard decisions to make. Medicaid is really that's kind of what has eaten up all the increases over the last couple of years. Based on and I'm being 30,000 foot level. In order to fund it where they would like to, that would take up the entire money they have to spend in terms of general fund money, which means education will not get any kind of increase. I mean, pick and choose what you want in terms of any kind of increases. So they've got some decisions they make. Obviously, education has some protections that they need to address, but there's going to be some tough budget decisions to be made at the State House. We're going to get our first crack at what that looks like on November 3rd. That's when the governor is required to submit his budget proposal. Just like at the federal level, that's a recommendation and guideline, and ultimately is the General Assembly that makes that decision on the budget. But at least it gives us an idea of what the Polis administration is looking at for his final year in office. Happy to answer any additional questions, but it is a very budget-heavy time of year for us.
I have a question. I know I received in the mail the other day a new voting thing to whether we want to increase our taxes to pay for the free lunch program. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
That was something that came out of among several things that they were trying to address. That was one of them. So at the end of last session, they only had enough funding to fund it through the end of this calendar year. And then the second half of the next school year, no funding at all. That was something they addressed during special session, but it has to go to the voters for approval. So that's why
So that's why we're getting that for the next year.
Well, it'd be voting for this year to be able to do it for the rest of this budget year.
Okay.
Someone jump in if I'm misquoting myself on that, but
I think that initiative is intended to be a tax increase on those over $300,000 taxable income.
Income, okay.
And that's intended to generate enough revenue to make sure all kids get a free lunch, whether they need it or not. But that's my editorial.
Yeah, and there were reasons, for that though, because when everybody has an opportunity to get a free lunch, it doesn't spotlight kids who are low income or various other things to make a difference. So I know that's one of their reasonings behind everybody receiving that benefit. Okay, Jared, anything else?
that's it. That's all the rosy news I have.
Okay, so now we're down to G, and that's my report. And before I go into my report, I don't really have much to add, except that it was interesting attending the state of the city, which I found to be interesting regarding what's going to happen in Colorado Springs. But I also want to mention that for those of you who are new on the RAC, we don't have a separate November and December RAC meeting. We kind of put them together because they both fall during holidays. And sometimes in the past, we've done them in early December, but we haven't set a date. And I know we're looking at maybe putting that off a little bit so that Melissa will be able to attend and that we'll have time to actually vote on whether we approve the fundings that will be set up for the RFP and who will be our providers. So we're looking at maybe the December 18th meeting. It would have been in early December, but I'm just wondering if I might be able to get some feedback from folks on whether that date, December 18th, would work for our November, December RAC meeting.
I don't think it works for me. I'd probably need earlier in the month, but don't work just around me.
Okay, and it would be a Zoom. I mean, it could be Zoom and in person. So a little earlier for you. Anybody else have any concerns with the 18th?
Yeah, this is Don.
18th.
And do you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, the 18th would be great for me because the first week and a half in December, I am not in country. So December 18th would be great for me.
Okay. Rosemary, how about you? Do you have any concerns? You have a preference?
Sorry, I was looking at November. December for me, should be fine. December
Okay.
18th.
Okay. B, how about you?
I think that would work. Even if I'm traveling, I could, come
Okay.
online.
Okay. So sorry, Susie, we may end up choosing that date. Well, thank you for your input. And, that will come out pretty soon. I think it looks like the 18th may be the date we'll choose.
We've confirmed that we will have room in this room, and Jared and Melissa and Melody and I will be here. Like we mentioned, we don't have a specific date when the RFP information will come back to the RAC, whether that's the December or January meeting, but it is important that we don't miss too many meetings. So typically the December meeting has been a little bit of a holiday party. So just so you know, if you are here in the room, we'll have some munchies to enjoy as well as part of the meetings.
And that will work out good because the technical review committee will have met with staff, and we'll have our final recommendations for who receives, so that the RAC would be able to approve that, which would mean that it might go to the Pikes Peak Council.
The Council of Governments
Yeah.
Board of Directors
In early
either January or February. And just kind of, like I said, we're making this somewhat soft to make sure that we can keep up, because there is a lot of work after the vote. Even with a contingent vote, there's a lot of work to be done behind the scenes to make sure that we're ready for new contracts. So yes, that's what we'll aim for, the 18th, and we'll see how it all rolls out.
Okay, great. And so now I'm just going to pass, that was kind of a discussion, but we'll go past discussion to the meeting schedule. Our next meeting is in October, and it'll be the 23rd. Our RAC Executive Committee is the first Wednesday of each month, and then the PPACG is the second Tuesday.
Second Wednesday.
Oh, second Wednesday of the month. And with that, I'll adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.